I've played every single Game of the Year nominee, and here's one thing that I'm begging the games industry to learn from each of these nominees.
The moon is waxing.
Hades 2 has perfected the art of microdosing novelty. The game still relies upon the standard mechanics that can be found in any roguelite: randomly generated levels, unique builds, and several forms of meta progression. But I'm not talking about any of these. Every single run is packed dense with tiny bits of story. The narrative and world building slowly unfolds and unwinds as you play in a way that feels so natural you don't even realize it's happening. You start the game with essentially zero context as to who the characters are, what is happening, or even why you are fighting to get to the next room. But run after run, you get drip-fed world building from every piece of dialogue, from Homer's sporadic moments of narration to the distinct messages from the gods with every new boon pickup, to the conversations with each NPC after every run at the crossroads. You learn more and more until you start to deeply understand the motivations of each character and gain context for the state of the world in the wake of the first game. Each of these examples of bits of world building are almost entirely unique from run to run, and the amount of completely conditional dialogue is almost baffling. One simple example is how every single time I enter a new location, I look for a lookout point in the first room. As you stand and gaze upon the upcoming area, Malinois always delivers an entirely new piece of dialogue. As gamers, we've gotten used to repetitive voice lines to the point that they are just the base expectation.
I think that enemy got the point.
Okay.
And my brain is completely broken, which means I compulsively search for every single scrap of unique dialogue that I can. Did Supergiant have to go that hard? No, but I'm glad they did. You may engage as deeply or shallowly as you like into this world, and there's so much there if you look for it. When you start to understand the cadence of these dozens of different lore access points, the game then starts to insert main narrative progression into these spots where you've come to expect only simple insights into the world. A boon you pick up suddenly unfolds a key story detail that is then explored more by a different character in the crossroads, or perhaps a new character entirely pops up at a point when you least expect it. Hades 2 is dedicated to ensuring that you start every run completely unsure of what might unfold ahead. The developers don't want you to go 5 minutes without experiencing something new. And dude, I haven't even mentioned how they put in 2 entirely unique paths that could have been completely separate games if made by any other developer. Donkey Kong Bananza has sound design so tight, the audio is almost my main incentive while playing the game. Every minute action in this game sounds so concise, so punchy, and so satisfying that it makes literally standing there and slamming a hole into a rock some of the most engaging and dopamine-inducing gameplay this year. I would regularly find myself revving up the gorilla transformation just to hear the bongo sound of DK pounding on his chest. The sound of the big guy running around on mud versus on grass versus on metal, it's all so distinct. There's a simplicity to the audio design as you traverse these levels. Each sound has so much room to breathe, and each sound has such a tangible hand in creating an immensely satisfying gameplay experience. At its base level, Donkey Kong Bananza is a simple collectathon platformer, but there's a unique primal feeling that the developers have cracked when digging down and shattering open a banana, only to have DK recite the exact same phrase every time. Also, developers, please, for the love of God, put more destructible environments in your games. I will buy it. Please, just do it. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has the single most satisfying leveling system in any RPG I've ever played. I will now compare every RPG created from now until the end of time to this system. There are many different philosophies in implementing an RPG character leveling system. Some games give you arbitrary points that you can allocate to skills upon leveling up. Others don't even have dedicated attributes, just a large tree of disparate skills that make your character more powerful in whichever way you want. But to me, the most satisfying unifying leveling systems are those where performing a skill increases that skill. Maybe it's due to my deep RuneScape obsession at age 10, but the idea of performing a specific task over and over and slowly getting better at that task is a loop that completely hijacks my brain. This exact type of system is why I believe Skyrim is so attractive to casual players as an RPG over a game with a more obtuse system like Oblivion. In Skyrim, you could sit at the blacksmith 2 hours into the game and make yourself capable of crafting the most powerful weapons and armor in the entire game. But mindlessly selecting menu options to churn out a flood of iron daggers is not exactly what I would call engaging gameplay. What if there was a way for a player to gain power through leveling, while simultaneously the player themselves gained power through their own skill at the game? This is where Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 delivers. You begin the game as a baby bitch boy caked in blood and dirt. No weapons, no tools, no clothes. Your skills are 0, and your skills as a player are 0. It's at this point when you're presented with a similar system to Skyrim. You could just sit at an alchemy table, churn out potions until your alchemy level and skills are essentially maxed out. You could track down every combat master until you learn every weapon technique and grind out fights in the ring until you have every single weapon combo unlocked and mastered. But that's just it. It's not just that you unlocked a series of skills that increase your damage or give you new moves in combat. You yourself have gotten good at combat. You can test this yourself by starting a new game or loading an early save and getting into a fight. Fights that destroyed you on a first playthrough are now simple. You have gotten better at sword fighting as well. And this is why making every skill increase tied to a minigame or an explicit player action instead of just a sub-menu adds this personal power curve as you get good. Because now you no longer need that skill that allows mistakes when crafting potions. You no longer make mistakes at all.
No one will ever stop me from making my pizzas.
Death Stranding 2 should be a showcase for how impactful, unnecessary, high-effort bullshit truly is in delivering a meaningful experience to the player. Did Kojima really need to add a full-length, tone-shattering bath dance when you go to a hot spring? Did he need to put a constellation of his own dramatic face when you gaze up into the night sky? Did he need to add a 4-minute-long pizza action scene with fully animated usable pizza karate attacks and a throwable pizza weapon? No, he did not. Yet these all add so much to how Kojima games resonate with players. Because in 2025, we're inundated with competent but soulless AAA games from every major publisher. The absolutely ballooning game budgets have led to many studios to the point of creating a game that appeals to the very lowest common denominator, as they believe this is the only way to achieve high enough sales numbers to justify these dev costs. But in this process, so much life has left these games, and we're left with a deluge of riskless, designed by committee, bland experiences in a medium that used to be known for high-budget, over-the-top antics. Please make more AAA games with goofy, unnecessary, high-effort bullshit in them. Next, Expedition 33. Yes, it shines most with its heartfelt characters, ballsy story decisions, and legendary soundtrack. But one thing that stuck out to me so much while playing is the extremely dynamic nature of the combat itself from act to act. The powerful characters, effective builds, and general strategy in combat demands radical shifts at specific points in the story. At the end of Act 1, and particularly Act 2, there are major story shifts that have a dramatic effect on the combat and force you to rethink your entire party composition and the best skills to prioritize. Between Acts 2 and 3, the 10,000 damage cap per hit is lifted, meaning your entire combat approach up until this point needs to be rethought. Up to this point, I was prioritizing buffing Verso as much as possible, as he had skills that would hit several times in a single attack, leading to a much higher cumulative output than Mael, who mostly had powerful single-hit attacks. But suddenly, the damage cap is removed, and the player is incentivized to unleash the absolute maximum single power attack they can, instantly turning Mael into a complete monster through Act 3. It forces the player to continuously make new decisions and considerations throughout the game based on the options currently available, and I think this design methodology of forcing the player out of their comfort zone and to be constantly shifting their team throughout the game is something that should be much more widely adopted across other RPGs or even games with light RPG mechanics. 90% of the time in an RPG, you have a character's entire build plotted out within the very early hours of the game, and you've already grown attached to a specific party composition that you've grown comfortable with. To me, this completely nullifies the most fun part of RPGs so early on. RPGs should strive to give the player as many chances as possible to feel the satisfaction of plotting out new builds and strategies throughout the game, instead of allowing the player to sit on autopilot for the last 50 hours with no demand for any player adaptation to new challenges. Lastly, we have Hollow Knight Silksong, which implements this wildly unique idea of actually releasing the game.
Ba-bum, ba-bum, bum, bum.